live, unless you're watching this later, in which case I was live. This is the last final ultimate preview for the Kickstarter campaign for the Different Now CD, a 20-song legacy project, 20 original songs spanning 45 years. This was written in 1983. I had already quit mail. Why is it open? Come on, quit mail so it doesn't make little dinging sounds. Thank you for telling me I'm live. I didn't know that, YouTube. Yes, hello, Internet. You people really know how to party. Here we go. I'm going to start with something quiet today and wind down from there. This is called Bow and Arrow. My name is my mark, my vision's a dark silver lining. My mother's a tree, she cries out to me, whining. My father's my foe, he gave me this bow and arrow. Houses for rent came and went with the summer. Students for sale, backwater jail, what a bummer. My father's my foe, he gave me this bow and arrow. The powers that be came here to see our condition. What I do with the girls, no concern to the world's cold tradition. My father's my foe, he gave me this bow and arrow. He built me this bed, he screwed on my head in the morning. He gave up the fight, now I have the right to ignore him. My father's my foe, he gave me this bow and arrow. Father came south and swallowed a mouthful of sea salt. Easy and free, don't look at me like it's my fault. My father's my foe, he gave me this bow and arrow. Father is gone, now I can carry on the religion. Birds overhead sing of the dead with their squealing. My father's my foe, he gave me this bow and arrow. My father's my foe, he gave me this bow and arrow. This one is called Grandfather's Time. And what it is the last memories of an old man before he slips away. His life doesn't flash before his eyes. He's not quick enough for that. But life is beautiful. Here's the scar from the time when we climbed to the roof. The wood was rotten and we flew to the floor. And here's the closet where I asked you to hide me, and I slumped in the darkness till the game was over. Here's the candle we made for Mother's Day. Through all of these years, flame never touched it. Here are Father's shoes. See the spider web in one, and dust on the toes from here to kingdom come. Here is Sister's little room with the private sink and mirror, and the snowy alcove with the rocking chair. Here is Grandfather's Time, where you lay on a Thursday, suspended in sunbeams in a sleeping barn. Here's the first kiss that you ever had from the only one that you will ever love. Here's the shadow and the hand grown thirsty, and the patience unbound, and the dream of the end. Tracy Grammer plays a beautiful violin break on the recording on that song. She also plays on No Secret Castle and designed the cover, which I should have to show you. Oh, here it is. Here's the cover. The CDs are in. Actually covered funding the pressing on the first day of the Kickstarter. And yeah, now we're just gathering promotional funds because it costs more to mail it to radio than it does to press the album. This cover art is called Creation in the Vortex by Rosa Crean, Chicago artist. Just brilliant stuff. So these songs I'm doing are near the end of the album, and I had done this one earlier, on an earlier preview, but it's in the line with these last ones. My daughter Casey sings on it. She is not here at the moment. It's called The King. Now, for those of you who don't know what Kickstarter is, it's a crowdfunding site. At least that's how it started, and it was started for politicians. who were, you know, trying to prove their popularity, and they would, of course, need to pay people to come and listen to their drivel. And so they would get their rich friends to crowd fund so they could pay people to come and listen to them. Eventually, it became used for other things like funding artistic projects and so on, or people with medical issues, but we all need to be grateful to our politicians. Yeah. Crowdfunding. Robert Burns, you know, it's an old idea. It sounds hip, but he used to call it getting subscribers. Like Robert Burns' first book of poems was, he had a couple of well-connected friends in his local area, and they got their friends to order the book in advance to fund the printing. I might talk about Robert a little later, but let's get back to this. This song is called The King. A dusty attic room, the stillness of a tomb where someone else's memory gathers in the gloom, while out on the quay the water slapped at me and roared as if to say, we wash it all away. This is where my king calls me home. My king calls me home. This is where my king calls me home. Struggle was the lock and honor the key. Your sorrow's all a basket for the gift you bring to me. And everywhere you've been, we'll visit once again with careless caroling and never want a thing. This is where my king calls me home. My king calls me home. This is where my king calls me home. A weed that never bloomed in the shadow of the eve stood up all afternoon and hung its head to grieve, as one newborn to violence who couldn't beat the odds has paid the price of cruel choice for all we little gods. This is where my king calls me home. My king calls me home. This is where my king calls me home. I leave you where the spring in urgent trickling like magic through the wood sings anybody good, where every move away leads towards another day, where at your journey's end I find you whole again. This is where my king calls me home. My king calls me home. This is where my king calls me home. King. I wrote that in 97. My mother liked the song. My mother, Joy, asked me to write the lyrics out for her, which I did. It's one of the few songs I've written where there wasn't one word or line that bugged me for years. That was just came through the window. And my mother began to decline a couple of years later. They diagnosed her in various ways, many strokes and so on. They finally figured out that she had a rare illness called progressive supranuclear palsy. Lousy cousin of Parkinson's, similar to ALS. And so for last year she couldn't walk or speak. She was doing some meditating, I think. and needed to. The song Different Now, which I'm not about to play, is about her beginning to deal with disability. There's a lot of things happen to us that we recover from, and then sometimes something happens to you and your life is not going to be the same. There's a great interview with Linda Ronstadt. She talks about, he said, how do you deal with not being able to sing? And she said, radical acceptance. Anyway, so this song follows the Different Now song. It's called Shadow of a Wing. Those of you that know my work know that I made an album called Shadow of a Wing in 2004. And I took the song off the record at the end of assembling it. Was like, it was one too many songs, and it was a complete statement without it. So it turned out to be a nice title for the album, and it stayed there, but the song's been waiting to be on an album. It was on one of my Waterbug samplers, but so it's about widowhood. I'm writing updates for the Kickstarter, and I'm sharing stuff I've never shared about how I work on songs, and you know, sorting out the music and editing and so on. And I haven't written about this one yet, but I'm going to get to it. Because I learned something in writing this. Usually I'll write in a fit of inspiration, and then 3 days later I'll get critical and I'll start to, you know, try to fix up the weak spots in the song. And in this case, I wrote this in 2002, and I got through that initial flow of getting the song down. And then I looked at the ending and I thought, I've said this before, you know. Let me sort of go back in, and I was able to turn on my critical mind while I was still in the writing zone. And I wouldn't have even had a song if it weren't for this line that came from doing that, which came from reworking the last part. It wasn't really reworking, it was just letting something new come in, and the line was, may the darkness that you walk in be the shadow of a wing. So that was a good lesson, which has stuck with me. Like, let it flow out, but then while you're still in the zone, which is a rare state of mind, you know, you can look at it also critically if your brain can do those two things at once. So, Shadow of a Wing. Rain steady falling through the stretches of the night, like something silent calling from darkness to the light. But as for dark or light, love, well, you are neither way. I've learned to live without you and to hold you anyway. Blue jays in the garden of the old sun in the sky. There's someone come to ring the bell and show me how to fly. There's someone comes with brandy just as morning breaks. I keep a shot glass handy, I know just what it takes. A toast to bear the winter, love, a toast to cheer the spring. May the darkness that you walk in be the shadow of a wing. All waters find the heavens, love, and fall to rise again. This rain whispers the reason why the calling never ends. This one is, I think I was 20 when I wrote this. I'm back in this house I grew up in because I was helping my dad take care of my mother, and then I ended up taking care of him for the last few years. And he is now on a memory ward 3 miles from here. And I get over there and sing for him, and he's deaf as a post. His memory's shot, but he loves the songs, and if there's songs he remembers, he can, if he already knew the words, he can, hear them better. So it's been a great gift for both of us, able to communicate with the songs. He also loves the black spirituals I do, and Scottish stuff, Robert Burns. Now he'll think one of my songs, he'll say, "Oh, the Scots," he'll say, after I sing the Scyther. It's like, once I said, that's my song, and he said, "Well, you're a Scot." Hey, Bill. Hi, Lana. Yeah, this will be up, you can watch it again, whatever. It's on YouTube and Facebook. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel. Wonder why people are always browbeating you about that. It's because you cannot monetize your channel until you get 1,000 subscribers. So I've been at it since 2009, and I have 498, but I'm just going to keep working because it's what I do. And deliver me. The Kickstarter's gone great. It's just up till, I thought it was Sunday night, but it's running through like 11 a.m. Monday. If you'd like to pledge any amount, if you'd like to get a CD, it's $20 and $5 for postage. And download for $12. Half a dozen people have gone for the handwritten lyrics, which is a $150 clip. And I've been writing out the songs by hand, cursive. None of these are flawless because my brain doesn't always listen to my hand, or vice versa. It's been great, Kickstarter. It's really, it's kind of transformative. You wouldn't think such a marketing thing would be, but I'm writing these, these updates about the song background, and I'm thinking about doing a lyric editing video later. I've taught songwriting groups, and I've talked about it there, but really, when you have a problem with a song, you can't just mess to find a better word. You gotta re-enter. You've got to re-enter the world of the song in your imagination and let something happen. And the question is always, is this true? That's always the best question. And usually the solution to these problems is very simple, but it takes a long time to find it. It's kind of zen in that way. This is the last song on the album, but I'm enjoying myself up here before it gets too hot to be up here today. And I'm going to take a short bathroom break because morning is when I drink coffee, follow it with tea, and hydrate and dehydrate and hydrate again. So Deliver Me, this is called. And yeah, I wrote this, I think 46 years ago in this house. I was never happy with the ending. And it's the mother saying goodbye to the child at the end of her life. And first she's asking the child to let go of being a child. At the end of the song, she's asking the child to let go of her, of needing her, And it's, I had these lines at the end. Start at the place where I fell, child. use the lesson well, child. It just felt kind of didactic, and I kept trying to fix the words, and finally I went back and I just repeated basically the last 2 lines of the first verse, and I'm happy with it. And this is a remarkable thing to sing for my father these days. He's 97. Powerful, he says. His memory's gone, but his mind is not, nor is his spirit. Wonderful. No, play the intro, okay. Wonderful seasons are used and past. Wonderful seasons are over at last. And now you must die, child. Make it a gracious goodbye, child. Mother, deliver me, mother, deliver me, mother, deliver me now. Mother, deliver me now. Counting beats for the soldiers to go, I lost track in the powerful snow. Oh, when should we go? I'm afraid I don't know. Father, deliver me, Father, deliver me, Father, deliver me now. Father, deliver me now. The streets are filled with the almost grown. I can't stand to be naked alone. Rise when the morning bell rings, child. Walk where the morning bird sings, child. Lover, deliver me, lover, deliver me, lover, deliver me now. Lover, deliver me now. Heavy times and heavy pains, crying shames and singing stains. Life in the hole, masks on the soul. Brother, deliver me, brother, deliver me, brother, deliver me now. Brother, deliver me now. Dying seasons must wait to be torn. Wonderful children wait to be born. Now I must die, child. Make it a gracious goodbye, child. Child, deliver me, child, deliver me, child, deliver me now. Child, deliver me now. I'll be back in a moment. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to play a Robert Burns song in a moment, and we'll talk about that. Hold on. Alrighty then. I'm going to have to get a catheter if I'm going to do any more of these morning shows. Yeah. One of the pledge rewards on the Kickstarter is the variety pack. So you can get 4 of my earlier CDs for $10 each. And I list 4 of them, but you can go to my website and pick any 4 you want. But this is the one previous CD. It's called Skeins. My daughter did that drawing on the cover. It's these hands drawing a face. And she sings this Burns song on there called, Robert Burns, called A Rosebud by My Early Walk. And, I didn't finish my story about the king and my mother and the lyrics. My mother died in 2006. And my father said he didn't want to make a shrine of her clothes and so on. So he had my sister take her clothes to the Goodwill and all that. And a month after she died, I was going through her purse. And there at the bottom of her purse were the lyrics to the king. And at your journey's end, I find you whole again. So this is the Rosebud. Casey sings it, and since she sang it, well, I've been researching Burns for many years. This came out in 2018, 6 years ago. What I learned was that his publisher, the Scots Musical Museum, the musical editor screwed up a lot of the music and a lot of the form of how the music related to the lyrics. So this was printed to a 3-part melody, but there's only 3 pair of verses. It doesn't. Burns was very careful about the forms, and the museum was not. So his friend David Siller wrote this melody, and the melody was called The Rosebud. And I realized when you take part 1 and 3 of the melody, you don't have to repeat lyrics as they did in the museum, and it gets rather tedious, and in fact, the second part doesn't really match it, scan with the words anyway. So, Burns. There will be Kickstarters in the future. I'm working on a Burns book, and I have been for 9 years, and people keep, when are you going to publish? Like, well, I'm still learning. I'm still discovering things, and I'm putting the songs up on YouTube one at a time. There's a channel there called Songs of Robert Burns, and it's a final refining process, because when you really commit a song to memory and get it to performance level, if there's any weak spots in your research or the arrangement you put behind it, they'll reveal themselves if you spend a lot of time. I've also learned that Burns was a bad reviser of his own work. He would leave better copies in his desk or send them to his friends than he would send to his publishers later. And I think he just may have trusted his memory too much, but when he wasn't in the writing zone, he wasn't as good of a writer as he was when he was, you know, Townes Van Zandt called it skywriting. Just comes through your left hand from above. It's like lightning strikes. Burns said once, he loved writing in the autumn. He wrote to someone, said, I am in song. Burns lived from 1759 to 1796, and 37 years. He left us about, well, he was involved with collecting, writing, and revising around 450 songs. And then there's around 300 poems. And his song lyrics tend to be quite different from those of his poems. But they're printed online all the time as a Burns poem. And if you don't have the melody, you think, why did he write this inane piece of crap? And then you hear it with the tune, you go, wow. Well, this one is a beautiful lyric. even without the tune. But it's called The Rosebud. He was staying after the first bloom of his fame in Edinburgh with a family called the Cruikshanks. William Cruikshank. I haven't been able to find out her name, which isn't surprising, Mrs. Cruikshank. Anyway, the daughter's name was Janet. And she was 12 years old, and she played the harpsichord and sang beautifully. And when Burns was first writing songs for the museum, he was working them out with her. He'd have her sing them back to him so he could adjust the phrasing and so on. So he wrote this song and gave it to Mrs. Cruikshank as a gift to the family. He stayed there for about 4 months. And this is from that text. It's slightly different from the one he sent to the museum. Not much, but a little bit. And I'm going to do that text, and here it is. Well, I want to tell you a balk. It's spelled B-A-W-K, but it's the same word as B-A-L-K. It's a balk, and it's an unplowed area between farmers' fields. It's a balk. So. A rosebud by my early walk, down a corn enclosed balk, so gently bent its thorny stalk, all on an early morning, ere twice the shades of dawn are fled, in all its crimson glory spread, and drooping rich the dewy head, it scents the early morning. Within the bush her covert nest, a little linnet fondly pressed, the chilly dew sat on her breast, so early in the morning, she soon shall see her tender brood, the pride, the pleasure of the wood, among the fresh green leaves bedewed, awake the early morning. So thou, dear bird, young Jeannie fair, on trembling string or vocal air, shalt sweetly pay the tender care that tends thy early morning. So thou, sweet rosebud young and gay, shalt beauteous blaze upon the day, and bless the parents' evening ray that watched thy early morning. Let's see. I had got a remarkable message through my website this week. It wasn't from the Kickstarter, but it just feels like part of that energy of things opening up and connecting more. I I've been in a caregiving cocoon for a few years and managed to get this record made. And the timing of the release is good because I'm freed up now to do some more gigs and even travel a bit. So I wrote a song. I was working a temp job in 2000 called Tiger Tattoo. The temp job wasn't called Tiger Tattoo. Yeah. I was working a temp job for an evil credit card company in Tigard, Oregon, and they specialized in people like me who had trashed their credit. At the time I had tendinitis. I couldn't play guitar for over a year, couldn't play gigs. And the hardest thing for me was just that playing guitar and singing is how I process things emotionally. So I couldn't do that. And, I went to, was it Kelly Services? I don't know. They sent me, the first job they sent me to was, I was working in it with a Keebler rep in Albertson's store. And they were moving their cookie aisle, and it was gonna, this huge cookie aisle was gonna have like 6 less inches of room. So they had all these reps from different companies turfing for inches. And there was a guy from Nabisco who was, he had these really cool shoes and a mustache. He was just one of those sort of naturally alpha, kind of sexy people. And my guy was just a sort of a nerdy guy like me, and he was confiding in me. And he said, oh, he always plays the victim on these sets, he said about the Nabisco rep. But the Nabisco rep won. Anyway, this guy took a shine to me. I didn't mention to him that I don't eat sugar, and I don't think everybody else should be eating huge amounts of sugar out of the cookie aisle either. But, you just sort of, keep your mouth shut. People think you agree with them. Until there comes a point when you say, no, I don't agree with you. But we didn't get to that point because I only worked with him for a day and a half. He had his world, I had mine, and our worlds were colliding. So he was telling me which cookies he liked best. And he confided that he actually preferred Mother's English tea cookie to anything made by his company. Keebler. So that's my secret inside information that I'm sharing with you. If you're a cookie eater, Mother's English tea cookies, if they're still made. When I was a cookie eater, I felt the pecan sandy was the apex of the cookie. Could have a taste test here. Anyway, it's not that I don't like them. He had strong opinions about cookies. Cookies were his life, and I was working with those little animal cookies that I loved as a kid, Oh, these are cool. They have a little carrying handle. And he said, oh, I hate these goddamn things. A passion for cookies. It was my introduction to temp work, and then why they sent me on a 6-week assignment. And I was working at this evil credit card company in Tigard, Oregon, and they specialized in people who trash their credit, so they got a lot of hate mail. And people think they're, they had these usurious rates to reestablish your credit. I mean, it was horrible. It was like 30% or something. So a lot of people sent checks, personal notes about what a hard time their husband was having and stuff. And there's just there's a folk singer reading this, or abuse, you bastards, One of them was really creative. It was they printed out a little Dracula character, and it said, go ahead, bloodsuckers, go suck somebody else's blood, and while you're at it, pay for the postage. I still have that one. Anyway, top of week 2, this woman showed up. I thought she was 35, and found out she was 23. And Boy, she was going through some rough stuff, and I mention in this song her 4-year-old daughter. I'll sing you the song and then I'll tell you about this message I got this week. Tiger tattoo. How about getting in tune? You had that whole rap to tune in, Andrew. I tell you. Almost. I lost track of this person. I wrote the song quite a while after I'd worked a temp job and lost track of her. But I found her on Facebook a few years later. And I'll tell you about that too. Wow. You are way, way, way. It's quiet as ghosts, 6 a.m. There's a new temp in the mail room, Amy Lynn. A baby woman of 23. I look at her and she looks at me. I look at her and she looks at me. She moved up from Nevada last year with a 4-year-old daughter and boyfriend to live here. They're his kids and the wife that he left for her. Now he thinks of returning, he's not really sure. Thinks of returning, he's not really sure. And her little girl pines for a mystery father. She's got sister and brothers by 3 other mothers. And Amy's had a cancer and she's missing fillings. Can't afford a pap smear, can't abide drilling. And she looks so pale, like she's wasting away. I lend her my Walkman to get through the day. She brings Halloween cookies, silly names make us laugh. She shows me a white tiger tattooed on her calf. Shows me a tiger tattoo on her calf. Well, she likes Scottish pipe tunes and she wants another baby. Before I'm gutted, she says it sedately, as if after all her poor parts have been through, they won't last as long as that tiger tattoo. It won't last as long as her tiger tattoo. Something unspeakable happened to Amy. It was held in a poem she never did show me. A quiet goodbye, my assignment is through. May the angel pass over that tiger tattoo. May the angel pass over your tiger tattoo. So, yeah, I changed her name and the state for the song, and protect her privacy. But I did track her down on Facebook 7 years later, and I was able to send her the CD. Tiger Tattoo is the title track of that CD. And she's happily married and had a couple more kids. The angel passed over. And anyway, this last week I got a message from the 4-year-old daughter in the song. And she told me that she listened to the song a lot growing up. She said it helped me a lot. Thank you. Oh. And then she said, I named my daughter Amy Lynn after the song, after the name I'd given her mother in the song. Just, woo. All right. Hi, Patty. Anybody got any requests I could do? I should probably wind down here. I'm still not wide awake. I usually, singing in the morning is not something. I used to sort of be awake at 9 p.m. and that would be my good zone. And now I'm just completely logy then. But I'm still no more awake in the mornings than I used to be. Anyway, if you're enjoying the music, please check out my Kickstarter page. The link's in the description. And it's all originals, but I have other interests besides the Burns. I've got a batch of Irish songs, and I'm eventually going to do. And another batch of spirituals. I did a project called Bound to Go years ago, which is apart from different now. My daughter asked me what I was proudest of recently, and I said, Bound to Go. And this new one. Yeah, Bound to Go's African American folk songs and spirituals, and a lot of research, and everyone tends to sing the same 12 spirituals, It's like when people want to honor their Celtic roots, everyone does Will You Go, Lassie Go, which is a truly mediocre version of a Scots song by Robert Tannehill. I don't get the appeal of that one. They took a beautiful love song and made it into a kind of I don't know. Yuck. That's my opinion. Well, when people want to pay tribute to the Negro spiritual, you'll hear Go Down Moses, Wade in the Water. Maybe, it's basically 12 of them people do, and they're great, but there's just as many. There's 6,000 spirituals in the Library of Congress. And there's a lot of as great ones lying around in old books. I have a collection of these old books. I actually mentioned one in the last Kickstarter update. Mellows by R. Emmett Kennedy. Had a work song that had a phrase I used for the song Heavy Log. I got the title from that work song. But I want to do a couple spirituals for you, and then I'm going to say good day. I might do more of these live shows. I need to get used to them. It's the minute you go live, there's something you didn't think of that knocks you off kilter. And I don't want to be one of those people that come on and dithers for 5 minutes saying, is this working? But yeah, it's a thing. So let's see. I'm going to do a medley. I have 2 spirituals, and thank you very much today for listening. The first one, March Down to Jordan. I was doing a week. Joanne Murdoch used to send us out for a week in Coffeyville, Kansas. You'd be booked for a week. You'd do 5 sets in the high school. And then the fun part was nursing homes. There were a bunch of nursing homes in Coffeyville. And magical gigs. One woman who must have been close to 100 got up out of her chair wheelchair and said, with her eyes beaming, said, "You filled my heart with joy." I'm like, yeah. There's a library there. I went over there one day, and there was a book called My Spirituals, which I'd never heard of, and I'd done a ton of research into these old books and thought I'd acquired as many as I could. My Spirituals by Eva Jessye, Jessye. I think it was published in the 20s, 26, 27, somewhere in there. And Breathing Wind, oh my. We'll see about that. I could do that. I'm going to have to make another bathroom run. And in this book was this song with this incredible melody, March Down to Jordan. And I copied it out. I didn't have a Xerox machine there. And the second one I'm going to do after is called Brother Andrew. There's just one verse of it in Bahamian Folk Songs, published 1895. Quite a trove of material in there, too. So March Down to Jordan and Brother Andrew. Traditional. Gonna march down, yes, I'm gonna march down to Jordan, hallelujah. Oh, where you going, mourner, where you gonna say, I'm going down to the river of Jordan, wash my sins away. I'm gonna march down, yes, I'm gonna march down to Jordan, hallelujah. Brother Andrew, where you been when the dry weather come? Been on the rocks, says, waiting for rain. Brother Andrew, where you been when the dry weather come? Been on the rocks, says, waiting for rain. Up on the rock, up on the rock, up on the rock, let the water run out. Up on the rock, up on the rock, up on the rock of ages. I'll be back in a moment, and I'll play the Breathing Wind for Lana. All right. I'm classing up the act. This is a guitar stand, beautiful guitar stand made by Lee Murdoch. I'm a person who buys cheap guitar stands and then leaves them always behind at the gig. But this is not one you could leave behind. It's a special thing. Beautiful craftsmanship. Lee Murdoch. He's usually out at Fox Valley selling them, but you can get in touch with him. New acquisition, this guitar strap also. I thought, you know, my other one started to split. I thought I could go to Sam Ash and buy one for $6.99. But I went online, and this is a vegan leather guitar strap made in Ireland, and it's just lovely. I actually bought this guitar during the recording process because I was playing a little guitar for years. Because I'd had the tendonitis, I had to get a small body guitar because reaching around it was like, ah! The fact is, if you hold the guitar properly, you won't get tendonitis in the first place. But, yeah, hold your guitar like this. Everything goes better. But I got a little Martin at the time. Women in Music Series guitar, DBM 00. So it's got the depth of a dreadnought, but it's smaller bodied. I had a really nice voice, and I loved the guitar. But there were 3 banger songs on this CD. I thought I need a big guitar for those songs. I just need one. Went over to Tobias Music. They had the 3 Martins, which are like the ones I used to play. Tried them all. They were quite expensive. I saw this on the rack, made by Eastman, which is started by a Chinese fellow who went to the Berkeley School of Music and started a fine instrument company in Beijing. It was a third the price of the Martins, and I blew them out of the water. I'm sorry, folks. I love this thing. It sings with me, and found a perfect home for the little Martin. My wonderful former guitar student, Amelia Stamsta, loves old folk songs as much as I do, and it suits her. So, I'm jabbering one more song. Huh. Hi, Lois. Maybe I'll just go on singing if people are showing up. This is fun. This is one I'd like to do for Lois especially, because she'll know the other version. Look at all the seasons and the feelings and the moods. Think of all the people that our love affair includes. We are bound together like the morning and the evening. We are bound together with the living and the breathing wind. Some things happen that shouldn't, my child, like the snapping turtle snapping while the turtle killer smiled, and the sun went pale and the day was drained of meaning. We are bound together with the living and the breathing wind. Listen to the sound of the catbird's call. He sings just like a cat, but the cat won't sing at all. When you leave me, I will take my sorrow from your leaving. We are bound together with the living and the breathing wind. I am not the captain or the bosun or the crewman in this ship's kind heart. I am a number and a human should my ship go down. I leave my love on land to grieve me. We are bound together with the living and the breathing wind. I am not in any trouble, so I'm not in any hurry. I've got no time to lose, so I have no time to worry. For the game goes on, though I gamble odd or even. We are bound together with the living and the breathing wind. One man had no cards to spread upon the table. One man turned his back and left the Tower of Babel. He spoke not a word, but his eyes were straight and even. We are bound together with the living and the breathing wind. Look at all the seasons and the feelings and the moods. Think of all the people that our love affair includes. We are bound together like the morning and the evening. We are bound together with the living and the breathing wind. This is a Burns song. I first heard this, and really everybody first heard this, from a Dick Gaughan album called Handful of Earth, and it's become well known in, people that do that Scottish, Irish stuff. But the tune Burns wrote it to, it's never been published with the words. Never been published with the words. The tune is called I Had a Horse and I Had No More. I Had a Horse and I Had No More, which is a humorous ballad about adultery. This guy's like a farmhand and he's seduced by this woman. Then her husband comes home, he's hiding in a closet or something. Burns could take a melody that was used for one thing and put it with a completely different mood and it would work. He also liked to specifically match imagery to the shape of the melody. In this song, he does it on now waving grain wide o'er the plain. There's a double grace note and the grain waves. And he doesn't do it on the verb. He doesn't do it on waves. He does it, the thing itself is doing the action. That's a signature moment of Burns. And since the public has almost never had the opportunity to hear his lyrics with the uncorrupted tunes he wrote them to, they have no idea how great a smith he was. So that's been a big part of my life, and it will be for another, well, as long as I can sing. But this melody's been dismissed. I had a horse and I had no more. He's got another moment of matching to imagery, which is on. He was not fond of the sport of hunting. He loved wild animals and so on. He has a poem about on seeing a hare shot. He threatened to throw this guy in the river who'd shot a rabbit, When he wrote the poem to a mouse, he wasn't kidding. He had that kind of unfiltered compassion. Burns. He could also be really vicious sometimes. He was a human being. So, anyway, there's another moment in here of one of those melodic matches, which is the sportsman's joy, the murdering cry, the fluttering gory pinion. The fluttering gory pinion. We see this bird dying, we feel it. And with the other melody, which is a lovely melody, and Gaughan does an incredible interpretation, it doesn't have those moments. Gaughan would never have been exposed to this melody. He probably doesn't read music, learns by ear, and None of Burns's musical editors have had any grounding in songcraft, and it never occurs to any of them that this might be a problem. It never occurs to any of them that maybe Burns knows better than they do. And I was early into working with this stuff, and I was like, this guy is better than me. I like this. This is someone I can learn from. And I found that when I have faith that he knows what he's doing, eventually I'll find my way to it. This one took years because it's really easy to look at the tune and think the lyrics don't go with it that well. A woman in Sweden, Katarina Eriksson Roos, she really was onto what Burns was doing with the melodies, but she said in this case it didn't go because to have a emphatic lift on words like conjunctions like and prepositions like on was clumsy. Here's what she was hearing. Now westland winds and slaughtering guns bring autumn's pleasant weather. The moorcock springs on whirring. This really sounds silly, doesn't it? So, I had a horse and I had a name of the song with the lyric is published in the Scots Musical Museum, of which Burns was the main contributing editor of lyrics. And he would contribute melodies and their musical editor would often screw them up, but that's another 5 hours of discussion. Anyway, they didn't like to reprint melodies, even though they were like 600 songs printed, 6 volumes. So when Burns wanted a lyric printed, he would say, well, you could use this melody for it. And the way Burns grew up singing out of the Scottish metrical psalter, they would sing the Psalms. Everybody knew about 12 tunes. They had names like Elgin, Dundee, and everyone would know these 12 tunes. And the precentor would just shout out the name of the tune, and they'd sing the psalm to that tune. So he was used to, hearing a lyric in different ways with different melodies. So it was fairly easy for him to say, well, sing this one to Port Gordon. So he put this one to Port Gordon. And it was actually even with a different tune in the museum. Anyway, it wasn't with the original tune, but that wasn't his decision. That tune had already been used and couldn't be used again. So I was working with, I was looking through an Irish songbook that has a song called Peggy Bawn, and Burns had used that melody for his Man Was Made to Mourn lyric. And I was looking at that song, and it had a certain effect where you are on a syllable and then you jump an octave. And a couple days later, I'd gone to bed. It was 1 in the morning, and click, I started to cry, because that's how this works. Now westland winds and slaughtering guns bring autumn's pleasant weather. The moorcock springs on whirring wings. So if you jump the octave, every single internal rhyme clicks with this song, and this is the song. So these sorts of discoveries, it's not like there's 3 of them. There are 300 of them in this book I'm working on. Some of his most famous songs, there's a far better text to A Man's a Man for All That. There's a better text and tune for Flow Gently Sweet Afton. Anyway, I want to sing this for you. There are 2 versions of the words. One has more Scots words, but the earlier version published in his book of poems in 1786, I think is a better lyric. And I sing those words, but there's a window. He actually wrote this at age 16. He borrowed some phrases from an Alexander Pope poem called Windsor Forest, including the phrase slaughtering guns and haunts the lonely dells. He wrote this for Peggy Thompson was her name. He was doing well. He'd been sent to the school to study mensuration, basically some math and surveying. His father was very concerned with him getting an education, and he got him a hell of an education, literature and so on. William Burns, his father. His mother, Agnes, had a big store of ballads and she liked to sing bawdy songs. Burns married a woman, Jean Armour, who had a wood-note wild, a great voice, and was also a traditional ballad singer. So Burns had a literary training and the oral tradition. He had this whole thing going on. So anyway, I imagine the lyric he wrote for Peggy Thompson at 16, that manuscript is lost. But, you know, things are still showing up. Jerry Carruthers over in Scotland just uncovered Ye Black Nebs by name, which is the actual radical version of Ye Jacobites by Name that he couldn't publish for risk of losing his job. So I'm nattering. But in Burns's Commonplace Book of 1785, he wrote out the first verse of the song. So this would be from the old version before he revised it for publication. And I like it better. It's not now Westland winds, which is Western. It's now breezy winds and slaughtering guns. And there's something about that contrast. And it's not now waving grain wide o'er the plain. It's now waving crops with yellow tops. So I'm going to sing you that old first verse. This is Burns's melody. I had a horse and I had an emir. Let's see what Bill said. Thank you, Bill. Now westland wind, now breezy winds. Now breezy winds and slaughtering guns bring autumn's pleasant weather, and the moorcock springs on whirring wings among the bloomin' heather. Now waving crops with yellow tops delight the weary farmer, and the moon shines bright when I rove at night to muse upon my charmer. The partridge loves the fruitful fells, and the plover loves the mountains. The woodcock haunts the lonely dells, the soaring heron the fountains. Through lofty groves the cushat roves, the path of man to shun it. The hazel bush o'erhangs the thrush, the spreading thorn the linnet. Thus every kind their pleasure find, the savage and the tender. Some social join and leagues combine, some solitary wander. Avaunt away the cruel sway, tyrannic man's dominion, the sportsman's joy, the murdering cry, the fluttering gory pinion. But Peggy dear, the evening's clear, thick flies the skimming swallow, the sky is blue, the fields in view are fading green and yellow. Then let us stray our gladsome way and view the charms of nature, the rustling corn, the fruited thorn, and every happy creature. We'll gently walk and sweetly talk till the silent moon shine clearly. I'll grasp thy waist and fondly pressed swear how I love thee dearly. Not vernal showers to budding flowers, not autumn to the farmer, so dear can be as thou to me, my fair, my lovely charmer. All right, I will play different now to close. This is the title song, the new project. Open your eyes, stand on your feet. Same old world, same old street, same old body for praise and sign. The same is yours, the same is mine. Flow on asleep, flow on awake. Code of a riddle that none can break. Core of a story no tongue can sing. A secret raised on weary wings. And God knows how, since God knows when, it's been what it is, been what it's been, but it's gonna be different now. If you could speak, if you could breathe, it's all that you, if you could speak, if you could grieve, it's all that you can do to breathe. Each day a case of open shut, and wake another day to what? I walk alone, you walk alone, as all the living walk alone. By morning light all are made known, in falling shadow all is one. And God knows how, since God knows when, it's been what it is, been what it's been, but it's gonna be different now. Hope to see you out there in person. Be well.